Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about the two gimmicks of Mr. Ken Anderson. But first, hit that like button, and also hit subscribe for me. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about Mr. Kennedy slash Mr. Anderson. So Mr. Kennedy debuted, I forget what year, maybe 2004, 2005 or something like that. And he was this very brash, very loud, arrogant heel. But he was also very witty, and he had a lot of personality. I loved Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy is fantastic. I still think that they missed the boat. And I know he hit that Randy Orton skid where, Randy Orton wasn't a fan. And then he got blamed for hurting John Cena. I mean, I get that. I understand that. And then he was also kind of angry about the whole losing his Money in the Bank thing. And because he had won the Money in the Bank, he's supposed to be a world champion. Then he was hurt. And a lot of stuff happened. But I liked Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy was fantastic. Like, he missed a lot of his big shots. Like, he was supposed to be the son of Mr. McMahon that ended up making Hornswoggle. It was supposed to be Mr. Kennedy. That's why his name was Kennedy, because Vince McMahon's name was Kennedy. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So that's what they was going to do, Mr. Kennedy. And it made sense. It seemed to be a perfect setup. And then they hit that skid. He started getting into some trouble. He had some steroid issues. Got into it with some guys in the back who had some stroke. Orton was friends with Triple H and all that type of stuff. And then the whole John Cena thing happened, and it crashed. It just crashed and burned. What was completely positive and what could have drove wrestling into the future, what crashed and burned on the side of the road, and it was smoke and wreckage. But in typical TNA fashion, they picked up this smoke and wreckage and decided to repackage it. And essentially, he just did the same thing, except for changing Kennedy to Anderson. And then that was it. That's pretty much what he did. What he did is changed his name. He's pretty much still doing very similar things as far as his character was concerned. But then he veered off into basically mocking, or I wouldn't say mocking. He basically became another Stone Cold, where he was basically a vulgar. All he did was call people assholes, and that was pretty much it. And then of course he did the whole aces and eights thing and all that type of stuff. But he became a world champion in TNA. So TNA ended up actually being better for him in the long term because he was able to make a name there, a bigger name, let's say. And he's one of the few guys that came from WWE, went to TNA, and made good on, Vince McMahon should have pushed me. That was kind of one of the things where, but he was already kind of old then when he went to TNA. I forget how old he was. He's probably in his mid-30s then, I think. And then he became almost obsolete immediately when Eli Drake showed up and pretty much was doing the same character and was doing it younger and was doing it a little bit, I wouldn't say better, but he was still doing it. But it's kind of hard to say that these are two different gimmicks because it's essentially the same thing. He was doing essentially the same thing. The difference is that he added the word asshole to his vocabulary during his TNA run. And that ended up being a big difference because I think he ended up starting making a lot of money off that. Selling asshole shirts and, wearing trucker hats and stuff like that. But it was kind of crazy because Mr. Kennedy had a big future. Big old bright future. And it seemed like they was really pushing him. I mean, this guy got to feud with Undertaker and win matches. Like he beat Undertaker in like a first blood match or something like that in like 2006, I think it was. Him and MVP were both getting really big pushes at the time. And it was fun. Like he was really fun. Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson was a fun character. But I don't know about this whole asshole thing though. I don't think I was ever a fan of that because it was basically him just trying to use this one word to get over, and he just kept saying it like over and over. He like spamming the word asshole, and it made money. It worked, but it seemed to be weak. I don't know. Like it just felt, it didn't feel authentic enough to me. But that's just me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll talk to you guys later.